Hey Internet, Eric here. If you've been watching my channel lately, I, throughout October, discussed pretty much the entire Halloween series other than the new one. Don't know if I'll get to see it in theaters, so I'm moving on. And by moving on, I'm going to finally get to some requests. And recently on Twitter, under Hey Internet, Eric here, what do I have? Movies underscore beer 365. You can follow me if you want. I put up a poll. And the last three films that I have been requested to review, I put up Children of the Corn, I put up American History X, and I put up Pet. And I set it up for a few days, and the winner would be the next one I would review, and then I'll get to the other ones eventually. Well, tonight, the winner of the poll, I'm going to talk about Children of the Corn. Yes, like it says, the original that started it all. If you're new to my channel, welcome. I do discuss plot spoilers, specific scenes, what have you, so watch at your own risk. This came out in 1984. This was actually, the request was made by a friend of mine from Facebook, from YouTube, from Twitter. She's got multiple names. She goes by a bunch of things. And I asked her, because I like to do shout outs, asked her what would she want me to call her, and she said, make it up, so fuck it. I'm going to say this was requested by Brandy B, the Kidney Stone Queen. How about that? No, I'm not explaining that at all. But she wanted me to review Stephen King's Children of the Corn. Now, basic plot is we're following this couple played by Linda Hamilton and Peter Horton. I can't think of their names off the top of my head. They are going cross country, I guess, because Peter, I'm just going to call them by their real names. Peter Horton got a job, I guess, as a medical doctor, I'm assuming. They're going cross country to his new job, I'm assuming. And out of nowhere, they run into this little boy. Run him over, flat in the road. They go to check on him, and they think that they were the ones that killed him. They see that his neck was cut before, they hit him. So he was basically dead before he was hit. Then they end up going to this town called Gatlin. I believe it's in Nebraska. And they're trying to find somebody to help them, and they find out that this town is basically a ghost town. There's no adults there's no adults anywhere. They only find two children in the beginning. And they eventually come across this. They find the rest of the children in the town, and they're all part of this weird religious cult led by Isaac. And Isaac says he does the bidding of he who walks behind the rose, whatever the fuck that means. His second in command is this evil, sadistic, redhead kid named Malachi, played by Courtney Gaines. You've seen him everywhere, but he's probably most recognizable as Hans from The Burbs. And the rest of the movie is Peter Horton and Linda Hamilton try to get the fuck out of Gatlin. Alright, well, this movie was based on a short story of Stephen King's in Night Shift. I think it's maybe 10 pages, roughly. It spawned God knows how many sequels. I think 8 or 9 original sequels, a prequel that I know and I'll say right now is dog shit, a remake, and just had another one come out. But the one that started it all, I really enjoyed. I haven't seen it in a while. I really liked this. I had a lot of fun with it. Linda Hamilton and Peter Horton, I really liked them a lot. They have a good chemistry together. They are a good, quirky couple. When we're first introduced to them, they're in a hotel together. They just woken up. Linda Hamilton's dancing around like a dork to whatever song's playing on the radio, and she's being dorky and stupid. And Peter Horton's looking at her, and he's got this kind of embarrassed look on his face, like, "What are you doing?" type of thing. But he also realizes she's being sweet and cute, and when they flirt and cute, it's fun. I like them a lot. when they do flirty stuff like that. I love the scene when they're before they hit the boy and they're driving down, the back roads, and the only thing that can get on the radio station is this weird, preacher, talking about sin this and sin that, and then they're mocking him, saying, praise Jesus, and this is a sin and that is a sin, and they're working well with each other. So it's fun. I like them a lot. I like them a lot at the end when they're trying to solve how they're going to defeat he who walks behind the rose. Really enjoy both of them a lot. We'll get to the kids. There's 4 main kids we follow. First off, I'm going to talk about Isaac, the leader. Really liked him a lot. I guess he was played by an actor who was in his 20s at the time. I don't know if he really suffers a form of dwarfism. But he looks like he's probably 13 in this film. He's got a presence about him. He walks slowly. So he's got his hands to his side. He speaks in Bible quotes. He speaks old-timey, language. I believe him. I believe you can see how he could capture all of these children's thoughts, how he could be a perfect cult leader, convincing them to do his bidding. I like a lot about how he spares some kids, because the two other children that we mainly follow, one has like the sight, can see the future type of deal, and he lets her live because he who walks behind the rose allows it, I guess. But I like Isaac, the actor who plays him, very good at being creepy, very good at downplaying what could have been a scenery chewing, over the top cult leader type role, and I love it a lot. I love, eventually Malachi and the rest of the children of the corn, they form a mutiny. And because Malachi's tired of listening to Isaac because nothing's come of it, so they form a mutiny and they take over and they tie Isaac to this cool little cross made out of corn stalks, and they're going to sacrifice him to he who walks behind the rose, because I guess when every kid turns 19, they have to sacrifice themselves to he who walks behind the rose. I'm getting tired of saying that. So during that ceremony, they're also going to sacrifice Isaac. I love seeing Isaac, yelling at Malachi, calling him blasphemer and this and that. Really believable. Let's get to Malachi. Malachi, played by Courtney Gaines, is proof that gingers have no fucking souls. He is evil. He is sadistic. He doesn't care. He loves violence. He's the one that does all the dirty work, all the killing. And this kid is fucking scary and creepy. And every time he is on screen, you know that if you saw this kid walking your way on the sidewalk, you would cross the fucking street to get away from him. And that's a job well done. The other kids I mentioned, the girl that can see the future and she draws the future in drawings. And then the other kid, Job. Okay, nothing to cry home about. But overall, I like the performances. We eventually, there's not a lot of gore in this film. Eventually, we find out early on in the opening sequence, but eventually Peter Horton and Linda Hamilton, they find out what happened to the adults. Isaac showed up out of nowhere. He shows up in this town, and he's the one that commanded and commandeered all these children, and they he caused them to follow him in his will, and he who walks behind the rose will, and blah blah blah. And he has convinced all these children to kill all the adults in the town. And you see this wonderful, brutal, creepy, violent scene in a diner. People are getting poisoned. People are getting stabbed. Throat slit. There's this really, on the edge of your seat, you don't really see a lot of gore, but they're holding like the owner down, and they're putting his hand into like a meat slicer. The blade's turning and turning, and then it's getting closer and closer, and then suddenly you get the cutaway, and the blood Burt's on another kid. So really good. Oh, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen, and then it happens off screen, but it's still effective. Um, there's some stabbings, a lot of off screen kills, but I'm fine with it. Love that opening scene in the diner, especially when the camera. You don't know what's going on. It's just another day at the diner. You see creepy ass Malachi playing pinball. You don't know what he's gonna do, and suddenly you see Isaac just outside the window. Wonderful shot of the camera, like this, literally like this. You know, I'm voguing, and it's Isaac, and he's wearing his little Amish hat, and camera's focusing on him, and he just does this nod. Malachi pulls out a knife. All the other kids doing what they're doing, and they just start going to town, killing everybody. So it shows how creepy Isaac is. The Isaac character, he's always talking about he who walks behind the rose. He does a good job. From what you hear from some of the kids, Job mainly, he says the kids didn't really act like this until Isaac showed up. And I like that because keeping it vague like that makes you wonder, is there really a monster in the fucking cornfield, or is Isaac just bullshitting all these kids so he can have control of everyone? And they do a good job making you wonder, is it true? Does this thing exist? And eventually, during the finale, when Peter Horton has to rescue Linda Hamilton and Isaac's, like I said, on the cross, you find out that it is true. And let me get to He Who Walks Behind the Rose, the monster. All this build-up. And again, I'm going to talk about the actor who played Isaac. You believe that you know that he really is the monster, he who walks behind the rose, whatever, Israel, because you can, it's nighttime and the sacrifice is going to happen. You see the fear in the actor's face. You hear the fear in his voice. And then we get the reveal. And it's one of my negative parts of this film. It's such a fucking downer. First off, we see it coming from under the dirt, and the dirt is literally like lifted off the ground as it's moving along. Kind of reminded me of like a graboid from Tremors, or like I was thinking either Tremors or like a Bugs Bunny cartoon. You know, when he's digging under the ground and the dirt just lifts up. So I think even after that cheesiness, it's going to be a really good reveal. And then he's going after Isaac, and in some of the shittiest special effects. I don't know if the budget on this movie was like maybe $1,000. The shittiest optical effect I've ever seen in a long, long time, where all these neon colors just go up the cornstalk and they go up Isaac as Isaac's screaming, and he does a really good girlish scream, and then he's covered, and then suddenly, and you know that's a stupid shitty effect, and then not just that, the crucifix or whatever shoots up in the air with this weird steam effect, and it's like a holy shit moment, but it's not like, oh my god, that just happened. It's like a holy shit, what did I just see? So that's goofy as hell. When we see the reveal of what He Who Walks Behind the Rose is, he's just a big giant cloud that glows neon red. I don't fucking know. Isaac does come back. He's not destroyed. He comes back, and he's painted like all gray. I guess he's covered in ash, and his hair's all tangled. And he's talking like this. You know, he's got this deep voice instead of this high-pitched little kid's voice. And he's coming after Malachi. And this is another disappointment. First off, Peter Horton rescues Linda Hamilton by getting into a fight with Malachi, and I wanted a little bit more. But then again, you realize it's Peter Horton's just slapping the shit out of a young kid, like 17, 18 years old or whatever. So they get away. And then Isaac's back, okay? He's possessed or whatever. And he's basically saying, he who walks behind the rose wants you too, Malachi. And we're thinking, oh, right, we're going to get this nice final death to Malachi, and he deserves it because of how sick and twisted he is. And Isaac literally grabs his neck, and the camera's behind Malachi, so we just see his head. And we see Isaac, looking at him, and he's making this weird face, and suddenly you just go, Like, snaps his neck, and that's it. So disappointing. I wanted Malachi to really get it. And he just gets his neck snapped by a midget or whatever. But and then there's one last problem I had with this is, you get that last jump scare, not everybody's dead type of thing. We get a reveal that someone's not quite dead, and instead it's more comical than intense, and I'll just leave it at that because it's got to be seen to be believed. But there's more to this movie that I really liked. I liked how they want to destroy the cornfield with the gasoline and the Molotov cocktail. And that's really well done. Peter Horton, and the score is really good in this intense moment. Peter Horton throws a Molotov cocktail. It doesn't land where it's supposed to, so Job's got to run down while, the graboid or whatever it is coming down towards him. He picks up the Molotov cocktail, gives it back to Peter Horton like a little bratty kid. He says, "Throw it right this time." And that's really well done. A nice explosion effect. And then we'll talk about He Who Walks Behind the Rose again, because in a shitty special effect, just like the Isaac scene, we get a really cool burning effect, a really cool burning mushroom cloud of flame, and then we get like an unhappy monster face superimposed in this mushroom cloud, and it just looked fucking lame as hell. Like, this giant fart cloud had a frowny face on it, and it's just all this build-up. Like I said, the build-up between He Who Walks Behind the Rose and ends up being a cloud. You want Malachi to die a gruesome death, and his neck snapped. So much disappointment in those two things, but it doesn't destroy this movie. I still really, really enjoy it. Brandy B, thank you for requesting this. Overall, I do recommend it. I had a lot of fun. Like I said, I liked the characters. The four main ones, at least. Peter Horton, Linda Hamilton, Isaac, and Malachi. Malachi is still fucking creepy as hell. I like the characters. I like the score. There's some kids singing that are really, really creepy in the score. Reminded me of Pet Sematary a little bit. So there's that. The locations are nice. I'm from Illinois. I live in a fucking cornfield, so I understand how creepy they can be. Some decent off-screen kills. I love the diner scene. Excuse me. God, creepy as hell. Overall, I had a lot of fun with Children of the Corn. I don't know how you get roughly 10 films out of this, but overall, had a lot of fun. So yeah, thank you for recommending, and not recommending, but requesting this. That's it. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, share, click the bell. Don't care. Comment below. Tell me what you think. Tell me if you really enjoyed this. Tell me if you really hated it. Explain to me why there's 10 fucking movies. Explain to me why, there's less than 10, more than 10. I don't know. I'm rambling now. Talking way too long about Children of the Corn. Although, I really, really liked it. In the end, I will say cheers. And, like I said, Malachi, proof the gingers have no souls.